Welcome to the first webinar hangout here in the series of, we call it the Impact Navigator. We have a pretty nice gang here joining us, and we hopefully will have some other people joining in later during the session. We will have a follow-up webinar tomorrow at the same time, which is 2 p.m. roughly in Berlin, Paris, if you're that time zone. A few hours more if you happen to be in India, and very early morning if you're in San Francisco. So best is that you try to look what time you can go into different time calendars and see what 2 p.m. Central European time would mean in your home zone. And it will be a bit informal meeting today and the coming days, trying to see what are the needs in this space, and as many of you who are probably following now or will follow are interested in navigating knowledge, trying to be more impactful whatever you are doing. So I think that is the common interest of most people here, and some people might be more active ahead and other people might be less active, but you can join in wherever you want and whenever. And a short background for you who haven't been following what we have been doing over the last years. My name is Bert-Ola from Sweden, and I have been in this social capital type of field over the last 10 years quite actively. First 5 years I worked in Region West Sweden to see how different stakeholders in society basically could work together. That was the main question for building a more sustainable, vibrant region, looking how we could make use of academic knowledge with practical knowledge, the intersection of being knowledge places, and also to build, of course, relational capital or social capital around that. And over the years, we have continued to build on that, and from 2010, we have been quite actively working online. So in different platforms, we started a platform with a network, we can say, called Living with this Planet, which tried to bridge networkers and communities around the world around this type of topics, with many of them have similar interest. There are around 1,000 people who have been part of the last years, we can say, and many of them are facilitating quite large communities. I guess the average community is maybe 300 to 500 people. But we have been concentrating mainly on the community leaders or facilitators of these type of spaces. And what we do as activities mainly is that we connect local events online. So wherever you are around the world, regardless if it's a small event, a big conference or a workshop related to this impact field, sustainability, startups, health, but with a common denominator of building some kind of more sustainable, better future, then we try to connect with these activities and facilitate the interaction. And we have done that roughly in 100 official webinars over the last 3 years. We did 38 webinars last year, from a big conference in San Francisco called Social Capital Markets to very small village activities. So try to be as close to practice as possible. And of course also that's an aim to amplify what you're doing out there and boost whatever your activities, market your activities, support crowdfunding campaigns, facilitate the learning, whatever. So I think this call now is a bit of update. What is the status right now? Many of you are building platforms, and how can we in the best way support you out there, and maybe you would like to be part in this journey as well. We will have some different formats in the coming months with which I will go into later, but where we will have random talks maybe once a week when you can just check in and tell about your updates. We will have type of innovators talk where you can present new projects, and maybe you have written a book or something that you want to promote, then we do that. And we will also have more co-creation of events that will be a bit more advanced interaction, and that is what we have done mostly over the years. So that was a short introduction, and we will have Adil here. He can also present himself as you others, but he will help taking the notes of the conversation. And you will be included in a newsletter, and you can also follow in the Facebook groups with updates and share whatever you want and so forth. So maybe Adil, you could take the lead there of the people in the Hangout and tell shortly what you are doing and your interest, and then we'll go around.
Thank you so much, Bert. Firstly, hello everybody, and thank you everybody for joining in this Google Hangout for summarizing the impact journey process and to kickstart our new 2016. My name is Adil, as Bert has told, and I'm basically stationed in Copenhagen right now, living here for about 2 years. My forte is that I'm basically a journalist, studied global journalism in Sweden, and originally I'm from born and raised in Pakistan, Karachi, a city of 20 million people. So I've been working there as in the mainstream media, social work for British Council. So right now I have encountered Bert at 5 years ago at Gothenburg on this Learn, Do, Share, which is basically an American film director, Columbia-based university professor also. His name is, I'm forgetting his name, has made some great pictures, but he actually did on making experience designs to work around spaces to engage in a meaningful networks. And then the journey started from me, basically from there onwards, with this Living Bridges Planet, and then working around that. And at the moment, we are now in a process to streamline the social capital that has been developed in the past 5 years. So these today, right now, at this moment, we would be interested to seek everybody's what we all are doing in our own spaces, making great work in our localities, in our communities, in our networks. And this process is basically to synergize all of us through using right media tools that makes impact. So at this moment, I've shared this Google Doc, Open Doc as well, onto the group and to the chat service here. So whatever that you guys actually put up links over there and comments, some points, some tweets, and then after the webinar, in like 2-3 hours, we would also try to put it up as a newsletter to everybody. And then from there onwards, we would like to put up more in a process of creating this journey to make impact. So this is what I hear, and I'd like to hear more of you from all of you. Thank you so much.
Yes, maybe Pradeep, we can go to you. Can you hear us, Pradeep? It seems difficult to reach. Maybe Jack, can you hear us? Yes. I can't hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. So what are you doing?
Okay.
And tell about yourself a bit. Why are you here?
So basically I am 59 years old now, but I've retired 19 years ago from business. I started 16 successful businesses, so I made some money and I started the World Toilet Organization. I guess some of you know about the World Toilet Organization very well. We created the United Nations World Toilet Day, and we took a subject that's very embarrassing and taboo, and make about 3 billion media outreach every year without any cost. So everything is about telling stories, and it works very well. So recently, 5 years ago, I started the BOP Hub, which I saw that the poverty alleviation by charity doesn't work. And we have 4 billion at the base of the pyramid. And so I think we should solve it by the efficient trade. People should be able to do business with one another, create jobs, and get the people out of poverty. Singapore has been like that. When I was a child, it was extremely poor. It was his only dream was to be as rich as Sri Lanka, and today it is the third richest country per capita in the world because we use market forces and not charity. So the same model is going out. I'm now having a BOP World Convention on 20th and 22nd September this year. Hope everybody can join. I'll send out invite. It's a trade show and a convention. Physically, you see people face to face. I'm building a World Trade Center for the poor in Singapore. It's a 65,000 square foot building, $10 million. And next year, in July, it will finish. So I hope to physically help everybody connect and trade with one another. The whole idea was to do something useful, and as convener, we don't really get much funding, so we have to go and create it by ourselves. But the whole mission is how to have a more efficient system that all the bottom of the pyramid people can be part of the whole world economy. So I hope to share with everybody as we go how we can all work together to deliver this mission very efficiently, because the social development model is very inefficient. Every year they spend about $1 trillion, but we have 4 billion poor. So something has to be done with it.
Excellent. Very good. Very interesting. So hope we can come back there, and now we have a rough idea of what you're doing, and we had some conversation over the last days here. So I think your mission is very much what many of the people in the network are committed to. So we should find some possibilities there to maximize or make more efficient your convening there, not the least in late September. I think that would be a great opportunity to amplify what you're doing. We have more people here. See also a new coming in here, but Surab, maybe can you hear us?
Yes, yes.
Great.
Thank you very much for invitation. This is my first time when I take a part into webinar. I am from Georgia and independent researcher. My area of study of interest is national security and informational security, conflicts, process of Europeanization, and so on. I'm writing the PhD. It named the informational processes and the institutes in the structure of national security. I'm an NGO chairman. NGO is Project Invincible Georgia Foundation. As you know, we have some trouble with in our region with in relation with Russia, and we have very solid and strong and dangerous situation. So our NGO try to coordinate people and army during the critical situation to save more peaceful population as well. And Um, so I'm interesting. Our organization is trying to establish discussion club, international discussion club, because only Georgian civil society is not strong. We are very weak, and processes of democratization of our countries it's have a lot of challenge, and we try to communicate with other civil societies from other country to defend and to develop our society. And finally, one of our project is to establish the network society for consumer right protection. Communicate with you will get us more experience. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's great to see a totally different topic, but I think you will also realize after time that it's a quite diverse set of people here, and to find out where the common denominators are. But as we wrote in the group there, it's very much in the intersection between learning the digital spaces and local spaces. So by doing different activities, so that is one of the intersections and the common interest of the people here. Okay, we go to next person, maybe Maggie. We haven't checked if your sound is working there, but if you can hear us, maybe you can give some insights of your passion and what you're doing. Okay, she doesn't see. Yeah, can you hear us?
You have to unmute. Maggie, please unmute. Oh, yes.
Okay, she can't hear. So maybe we'll go to Leif. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, friends. Hello, navigators of the future, perhaps.
Yeah.
I am a retired professor, and you see a picture there. It was taken when I was given an award by Peter Drucker Foundation and the European Commission on thought leadership, and I'm very intrigued by this possibility that Bert-Ola is working on. You have done a great job on this Living Bridges Planet, and I'm also chairman for something called the New Club of Paris, and you can go up and Google on that and find different ways into it. It's a platform for the topic of societal innovation, and I think what Jack was saying is very interesting. I was participating in some of the early prototyping in Singapore many years ago with the development board of Singapore, as well as the preparation of a super multimedia corridor in Malaysia. And I think you have so much to share, so I look forward to be more in touch with you on this. And I think the conversation as navigator might be what you just touched upon, that we need new institutional innovations, because most of the institutional framework we have of today is not increasing the wealth or the well-being of the world. So it's a paradox that we have so much we have never in the world had so much money as we have today, but it's not used in a productive way to create well-being. So perhaps we can add to that later on, and I call it societal innovation, not social innovation, because we need a new rule making beyond the traditional rules. And that you can also see on New Club of Paris as a key ingredient for New Club of Paris. And we have an upcoming event in July in Paris. It's the annual meeting there. It will be at the Ministry of Finance in Paris. And perhaps you're interested to join. I will put a link to it on the chat board later on. But thank you for being
Great. Maybe Grace, maybe you are there now. Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you guys. So my experience is pretty diverse. I'll put it in the chat box so you guys can kind of see also. So my predominant experience has been in architecture and design, as well as some art and documentary film, culinary and farming, permaculture, gardening. So it's kind of a broad range across the board. And I guess my career path at this point, I'm trying to figure out how to combine, instead of just looking at one, how to combine and bridge my experience and expertise to like holistically remediate, you know, the earth and people. So that's kind of my goal, is to navigate as to how I can use my mind and my skills and my expertise the most effectively.
Great. And what do you see here in the intersection of the digital and the local? Have you tried out this space before, or?
I have not, so I'm really, you know, very appreciative of being invited, but it's I'm not sure how to kind of tap into all the power here. And I have had experience. The great thing is on the school side, I've also had experiences at, you know, my schooling's been at Harvard, Wellesley, MIT, so to kind of use all these powerhouses too, since I'm in the Boston area.
Excellent. We also have, maybe we can try again, Maggie, if you can hear us now. I can't hear you. I don't know if the other people can hear you. No, the other people can't hear you. You can leave the computer and come back again. Sometime it works for some reason, but otherwise probably you haven't unmuted your microphone on the computer, I guess. But one suggestion is that you just go out and come in again, and it might work. We also have Lukman here. Can you hear us? We haven't checked your signal. Hello? Okay. It seems difficult here for Lukman to hear. You can write otherwise on the right side in the chat if you have something to comment. But if we go back there to Leif, maybe earlier today you had an idea about wisdom. You have been following these webinars for the last 2 years or so. What do you see, and how could we build knowledge around the intersection of digital and local?
Well, it looks like if you search on the definition of wisdom, it says that wisdom is a kind of intersection between past experience and your brain capabilities. And perhaps we could, in the extension of this conversation, both have a very good questions emerging, and those questions could be aggregated into an app. So we have an app for rapid communication and exchange of ideas, like what Jack was just touching upon, because there are so many linkages that could be done, but it is today rather complicated to navigate the web with all these insights. So perhaps we could have a simplifying app emerging, a wisdom app, as the bridge between brains.
Sounds as a great idea. What questions do you see? Jack? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, can I add on? I think that you see from what Leif and Grace has said, we're quite diverse in thinking. However, the failure of the current model is that the Western thinking divide things as winners and losers. So they support the winners and ignore the losers. And so if you keep on supporting the winner, you keep on excluding people out of the ecosystem. And that is why the distribution of wealth, the involvement, the inclusiveness does not happen, because this binary thinking is so strongly embedded in the Western educational system, in the concept of God and devil and nobody in between. You're either a good man or a bad man. You're either right or wrong. And
so what is you?
We are not. We are not 50 shades of gray, but 5 million shades of all different colors. Yeah, and the important thing is to understand that the teacher is nature, and nature respect every animal, plant, bacteria, everything. And because we are all here, we have to now think ecosystem. And when we think ecosystem, we draw from everybody and we redistribute to everybody. You see, those concepts like socialism, communism are failure, just like capitalism is now failure. It's because it was a binary thinking. So if we don't think binary, we think like nature, then we don't say, oh, the mosquito is not important. Let's eliminate all mosquito from the world. Let's just talk about pandas. Let's talk about polar bears. It's a very strange way. We have to be totally inclusive. So what we do is, there are 4 billion people. They are human beings, but they are living below poverty line, dirty water, diarrhea, homeless. This is not because that something wrong that they did. It is because of the inefficiency of the system. Yeah, nature is very efficient. So when we are able to unlock the spirit of enterprise, the work ethics of these people, and the love that they can give and we can give them, in this case, they will be part of the formal economy of the world. And then they don't have to pay more money, and they can buy things because people are competing to serve them as customers. So in reality, what we need to do is to look just inside our group. Let's say this group have, I don't know, 100 people, 50 people, even 20 people. Each of us has very good resource, very good talent, and we don't know what each other is doing. We don't know how we can use each other's talent for the common mission of solving global poverty. And so, Leif's suggestion of an apps that simplify and help us find each other whenever we have a project, we fill up all the perimeters, and then suddenly all the people who are related to those perimeters start to join in. And then theoretically or mechanically, you will have the map. But the missing piece, we have to breathe life into this relationship, is about how to trust each other. And that happens when we start to become familiar with each other and like each other. And then a good machine that unites the world is actually a love machine. That means people start to love working with one another. And then we are very motivated. Otherwise, we are very busy. We say, oh, I don't know, I have too much work. Why should I continue to work with somebody else? But if these people you love very much, it's a kind of a hobby to work with them. Then slowly and slowly, this first cluster of people start to become efficient because they've discovered beautiful thing working with one another for a common mission of poverty alleviation. And with the help of an app that can find some more people, people will realize that cluster are much more efficient than silo. If we are working alone, we can achieve very little. And that's, some people are very, very happy about that. Oh, I saved the life of so many million people, so many 1,000 people. Some people say, I run an orphanage and I have rescued 20 orphan, and all the life is for the 20 orphan. Why don't we solve this in a systemic way that we solve orphan solution everywhere? And all the solutions are existing. Everywhere we have no social entrepreneur. Ashoka Fellows have 3,500. Schwab Fellows have 500. And this type of people, they have good solution. If you take their solution and let other people copy each other, replication, then the world don't have to reinvent new solution because the proven solution can work. And so when in the commercial sector, we don't like people to copy us because we want to kill all our competitors. But in the social sector, we want to kill the problem, not the competitor. So we want to create more and more competitors so that the problem go away very quickly. We cannot have the mentality that we want to save the world, but only by ourselves. Because by ourselves and the world have to wait and they have to die while we are building our capacity, which will never be enough to save the world. So the only way that the world can become better is that we all become very humble and know that we can only do a little bit. But when we add ourselves into an ecosystem, the whole spectrum becomes full. And we can demonstrate to the rest of the world that you can also form your own cluster without joining us. But you just get the idea that actually clusters are cheaper, faster, better, and easier than working alone. And most NGO will go bankrupt soon because the funding is getting lesser and lesser because people are getting more and more tired. But if you transform everything into social business angle, I think it will start to work better. And later on, hybrid it and the commercial business also join in. I think the world will be distributed better like that.
Great. Any comment there?
Yes, I would like to share with Jack that you might be aware of a researcher at MIT. His name was Jay Forrester. He developed the concept of systems dynamics and applied it to production as well as urban design as well as innovation dimensions. And one of the learnings of this systems dynamics was that if you try to have low-cost housing, which he tested out as a system in Boston area, you actually are decreasing the collective wealth of all people in the system. So the trick is actually to look for the drivers, as you said, in the ecosystem of a collective, continuously growing well-being. And that is the challenge of navigation, that navigation is actually three-dimensional. And as you talked about binary thinking, it's the same with enterprises as well as innovations. We tend to follow a two-dimensional thinking instead of three-dimensional thinking. So that we need to learn to think as a starting point.
And what are the three dimensions? Can you explain for those who don't?
Well, the three dimensions is actually altitude, latitude, and longitude. So altitude is the height, and latitude is the width, and the longitude is the third dimension, which is a kind of vector in between the other two. And it's used when you're navigating a ship at sea, as well as when you're navigating the spaceship, which is even more tricky, because then you really have to learn with three and live with three dimensions. But the whole economical system is only two-dimensional. So you see what the kind of paradox we are living in. The way we score and develop metrics to address what Jack was mentioning is two-dimensional. So we need to go to 3D navigation, which the GPS is a system of, but we don't have a GPS system for the well-being. We have a GPS system for geographical positioning.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not just three-dimensional. It is holistic, because
Agree, fully agree.
When we are thinking about the dimension, we must to think about human feelings. Human feelings cannot be measured, and therefore consultants and experts think that anything that cannot be measured is not very important. But actually, feelings is the entire meaning of our life. And whether we are a little bit richer or poorer, it doesn't matter, because we just feel good, right, or not. And so
but even that could be measured, if you're feeling good or not.
Yeah. So what we need to do eventually is, okay, the basics, like basic things like nutrition, water, electricity, connectivity to ICT and housing and education. All these things are basic. But what we need is to redefine success, not by how many dollars we have, but by how relevant we are to other people. That means Malala is a billionaire because she is relevant to people. And Donald Trump is not a billionaire because he's not relevant to a billion people. Maybe he's only relevant to his wife, or how many he has. So in this kind of, if we fashion the celebration of relevance, that this kind of people are very relevant, and those kind of people, they have a lot of money, but nothing to do with me, nothing to do with other people, so not relevant. So if we measure by relevance, we can change the world, because fashion is the only thing that can change the world.
A little remark to you is actually that a kind of twist of measure is me assure. So how do you assure yourself to be relevant to others?
Yeah, it's a lot to start the process, because inside it is a balance of ego and humility, and you need both of it to motivate and to moderate. And if you don't have the ego, you cannot motivate yourself. But if you have too much, then you offend other people. So you need both balance and go ahead like that.
Do we have any other people here who would like to mention? I don't know if you, Maggie, still can you try to say something? Or we don't know if it works. No, it doesn't seem to work. I can't hear anything, at least. You can test later on and see that you find out how it works there. Surab, do you have something to add?
Yes, that was very strong words about that love will save the world. But the nature actually does not respect anything. The nature is nature, and ecosystem has evil and good. So we need a network societies, our humanity, for save each other, for save our love, and for save the love of the other people. So because of this, we come into the network, as I think. So.
What do you see as most important for you right now, down in your context? What type of support?
What kind of support can I gather, or what kind of support we need?
What do you need there to make I guess your way of measurement there is peaceful and more secure area?
Yeah. We don't know every society, every person needs support, and it's not a material sign, but we just need to know that we are on the good way, that we are in the good company, and we can teach something or learn something from other people. So for me, it's a great experience to hear from you some clever and wisdom ideas, and so thank you for this.
Mm. Pradeep, can you hear us from Nepal? Pradeep was here before. He has been part many times in the webinars, so I'm sure you can find some videos there. Yeah, you can hear us, but can you say something? Or is it bad connection over there? Pradeep is in Nepal. And sometimes it has worked pretty well, and sometimes it's a bit more difficult. Okay, Grace, are you still with us?
I am still here.
Do you have some comment or something to add?
I guess I totally agree with what both Jack and Leif were saying. And when Jack, when you mentioned the navigation, the three-dimensional, I was just making analogies in my mind of, for instance, we can really see that the Earth is in crisis, and one of the three dimensions that's not being accounted for in the economic standards is everything that, say, goes into manufacturing or packaging is not thought about in terms of impact on the environment. And so one of the things in this digital age is how do we kind of get that in there, right? Like if we just keep pumping out plastic, it's not going to be remediating anything. So these are all like legislative as well as like design thinking, as well as how do you change politics so that it goes in that direction. So just thinking about the 3D thinking in terms of the Earth.
Mm. Practically, where are you in the process right now? What do you see? What to get your things going even better there? What are you?
Well, I think because I've been in architecture for about 10 years, so I'm switching over, and one of the things that has been on my mind a lot is one thing is food for you. When I was in California, it's a little easier to grow things because of the weather and the climate. Over here on the East Coast, in trying to figure out food forest projects, I think that's one thing I was thinking about, as well as sustainable packaging that's not plastic, right? Why do we create packaging that'll last for decades when we're just trying to package things that biodegrade? So why not make biodegradable packaging? It's not that difficult. It's a matter of just somebody has to tweak the system. So I guess I would need collaborators to guide me in the process of coming up with a project methodology and then the funding for it. So those are like, the very kind of next steps.
Mm-hmm. We will set up a calendar there ahead in the coming 1-2 weeks here with where you can add projects and if you do activities in the calendar, so we can concentrate around some of the projects and events that you are organizing. And that will be pretty soon, and you can just share in the Impact Navigator group whatever links you have, and we will collect them and put them in the newsletter. And I think most of you have sent me your email addresses. If you haven't done it, you can do it. Just inbox me, and you will be in the newsletter there and get feedback from the conversation. I think Adil here is taking the notes and summarizing the questions and make a short summary of the discussion so far. Anyone would like to add something here?
Yes, Leif here. I would like for Grace to recommend you to have a look at a research group in Sweden called Packforsk. I put it in the notes there. It's the research on packaging, and they are working on degradable packaging.
Oh, awesome.
So there you might get some ideas. And regarding the Navigator, if you Google on Scandia Navigator, you can also find what I developed some 20 years ago as a kind of accounting navigator to go from 1 or 2 dimensional to multi-dimensional metrics for enterprises as well as nations. And today we have a map of more than 50 countries scored on this kind of thinking.
Those sound like great resources.
Great. And there will be, what I understood, an event in the middle of May around this life, the Future Center.
Yes, we are celebrating on May 17, the 20 years since we started the very first Future Center, which is a kind of space for the navigational thinking. And as you then understand, the future can never be in center. It's a moving target. So how do you develop an organization that is continuously moving rather than being an institution that continuously degrade?
Absolutely, yes. So can we go back to the apps? It's a really a good thing to do, to be able to draw out relevant people for any particular object. If we want to do that, like, how do we proceed from there?
It's an open question. So as Bert-Ola and I was starting to talk about it, I think we could probably ask some of our friends to chip in with suggestions, and then Bert-Ola is trying to get it together. And then the next step would be to go for early prototyping of this. But there is a group called Future Center Alliance, and they have a little key ingredient that we perhaps can leverage from, which is a kind of a questioning app.
So if you have an outline of something that is really big, let's take it to the Singapore government for funding. Because they have too much money, but not enough good ideas. And the idea, anything that has a future to break through big marketplaces, they will be very interested. And every year they spend a couple of billions of dollars in very new researches. And oftentimes, after they discovered it, they were unable to market it. For my thinking is we have to look at the market needs first, and then work backward. And I will be very happy to be on the market side, because my background is a businessman and turned social worker. So I work for free. Yeah? In the last 19 years, I don't draw a salary. I will not earn any dollar for the rest of my life. What I want to do is to solve sanitation and poverty. And I think the poverty piece is a very, very interesting one coming from Singapore, because we are the working model of how a country transformed from third world to first world in 25 years. And that was pre-internet age, you know, from 1965 to 1990. It was an independent country from the British in 1965. And by 1990, it became like Switzerland. And this is a very good model we can share.
And then you might remember also that one of the early steps in the development of Singapore was the Housing Development Board.
Yes, absolutely. Low-cost housing.
No, not low-cost housing, because that is detrimental. It's actually housing. So this is something that you should learn from looking into the systems dynamics of Jay Forrest at MIT. So low-cost housing is actually reducing the collective good position. It should be the other way around, actually.
Actually, it started low, or at least affordable, and then the house keep appreciating in price. So the asset increase also increase the wealth of the people. But I guess the words is just how do you say? Our meaning is the same. Yeah.
Yes, but I am a little bit cautious about it because low-cost housing is a political rhetoric that, from a systems dynamics learning and ecosystem learning, is detrimental. But as you said, it should be affordable housing, which is a better way of saying it.
Yeah, okay. I follow you.
I think Christiana has joined here. Can you hear us?
Please unmute.
Can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Unmute again. Please. Now you have to unmute again. Good.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
You can?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, is it my turn?
Yeah.
Hello to everyone from Greece. For those of you who do not know what Meraki is an attempt to revitalize an empty village that it has wonderful housing, but it does not have job prospects. So we are trying to rebuild an economy in a country that is in shambles. That's, in one nutshell, what we are trying to do here.
But please share, this is Leif again, please share the story about the yeast.
Yes. When we were looking to network with people, we wanted solutions, applied solutions, and we looked all over the place. And I found Dr. Pauli Gunter, who is the author of The Blue Economy. I'm writing it in here so people can go and refer to. And we have invited Dr. Pauli to come and share his knowledge and guide us into an organic growth. And indeed, we are now working with a group of people and a group of scientists, both in Greece and abroad, to create what we call the yeast economy, the same way that yeast has chemically, that means with a very small piece, you make huge amounts of something, let's say bread, then in the same way, you can, with a very small amount of people, make a whole movement, especially if it is organically growing. And we at Meraki express organically grown as working in nature, that means in a rural area, for nature, which means that your job has to do not only with profit making, but also looking after the environment and providing jobs, everyday jobs, to people that they will turn the money back into land keeping, earth living, and protection. So this is our yeast economy. And of course, you can take this model and you can do economics based on starting very small and organically growing your company.
Any comment?
Yes, we call this the yeast economy.
I muted Christiana there because there was an echo. You need to unmute. Remember
So to repeat, Bert-Ola, this might be possible actually to see that the yeast economy of Meraki has a larger potential than just Meraki Island, and with an impact along the lines of what Jack was referring to.
Yeah, one thing we have been discussing a lot over the last years in different webinars, and we have tested different distributed hackathons, if you know that concept in learning, for example, is to have a type of impact, collective impact measurement. And we need some models as well, and the yeast economy is a good metaphor and a good idea around that.
Yeah, I think Christina wants to say something.
Christina, if you want to say something, you need to unmute. Check the you need to unmute if you can hear us.
Yes, I am sorry. Technically, what it is important as is to understand that once we can modelize one small community with a yeast economy, once we can modelize 300 people and we can take measurements and we can see the growth and the impact that it has, then that model can be reproduced to the next village, and then it can be shared with all kinds of villages all over the world. And it does not have to be only village. It can go even to the urban areas, and we can bridge the urban with the rural. So that's the impact of yeast economy. It is not just one village.
And the beauty of that is actually that the yeast is a bubble, but the yeast is a healthy bubble versus the other bubble economy that we are experiencing.
Yeah, that's a really good.
And how shall we help Greece? How can we help this yeast project?
Well, we can form an international team. We have certain tasks that they have to be done, and we do need presence. We can have presence by, like we have in here, with the help of technology, and we can also have meetings, and we can decide project number 1, how are we putting it on.
Maybe you send us the problems and we can start thinking how to find interesting way for help you.
Thank you very much. I will, and I will keep, if you ask me to make a small report, I will give the report to the group so the group can really help me. It is very important that we attack this and we face this as a community, not just as one person working.
But yeah. Christina, you have a Facebook group called Meraki.
That is correct. That is correct. I did put it on the bubble next to the Google Hangout today. That's where you can find me, the Meraki people, and we also have started our page where we are trying to create a school. So people can visit us and can really learn out of our effort to make a new community. So both in the Meraki people and in the MerakiPeople.com, people can get in touch with me.
I would like to suggest the following proposal for further exploration with Jack. Meraki is an island as well. and Singapore is an island. So what could emerge if you connect the two islands?
Yeah, Singapore has a very low creativity. It relies on foreign consultants, but it is a super efficient country that after it learned how to do, its execution is flawless. And I think this is very interesting when there is a very serious problem somewhere else, and we can try to use efficiency to solve this problem and then replicate it elsewhere. I tell you what, a few things that happen in Singapore. We have no water, but we don't know how to invent solution to make water. So we go to America and we buy some technology to recycle the toilet water and the bath water or wastewater into what is called reverse osmosis. And then because of that, we have water. We can use the water over and over again just by filtering it. And then we export this, and now we are the biggest exporter of water technology. But we don't know anything. We just copy from other people, right? The other one is about the petrochemical plant. We have no oil. So we refine oil for Brunei. And then we thought if Brunei will refine themselves, we will lose our business. So we created an ecosystem of all the different petrochemical manufacturers so that everybody use somebody else residual waste. And it became an ecosystem that there is a zero waste and nobody want to leave. So we built one of the biggest petrochemical island in the world. And they make a lot of money. And the last one is we have no land. And so we are such a small country with a 700 square kilometer. So because we have to plan it properly, we now know how to give consultancy to build cities in India, in China, in Kazakhstan. We are helping everybody to plan cities because we now know how to plan our own city. So it's the same if we can help Greece solve the problem. The solution can be copied everywhere. But in reality, Singaporeans are not clever people. They are just efficient people, you know.
But you are a Malaysian one, or are you Singaporean?
No, I'm a Singaporean. My wife is Malaysian.
So a good marriage.
Yes, you see, I think that the gentleman brought in a point that is of pivotal interest. And this is when I started the Meraki people, I thought that if we have teams of 7 to 10 people working on an issue, on a challenge from very different parts of the world, then we can bring this aggregate knowledge and help one place, and then once we solve in one place, we can go and solve in the other place. So what is very important is that the technology or the solution comes from within the community. And this is very important, okay? Because if you come and you see our problems, then we should be able to bring solutions. So it's a collaborative commons. Without the collaboration of a lot of people, we cannot find solutions. If we only look at profits, if we only look at companies that they give solutions to make themselves very rich, then we will never solve problems for society. We have now to change focus. We have to change focus. And it can only be on a local level by teamwork.
Jack, as you are an experienced businessman, start to think about what could be a possibility to bridge Singapore's yeast consumption linked to the Meraki people, because the yeast is growing naturally on the island there, and it's used in a lot of industries for various purposes, and perhaps Singapore could be the efficient alliance for growing the possibilities of the Meraki people.
Yeah. if I have a context of the problem, and with all the help of everybody in this group with very different talent, I think the cross-sector collaboration will have a very holistic solution, because we cannot solve economic problems by economies. We have to solve it by, as what is spoken, the people themselves, and then with everybody helping to chip in their part of the expertise, including permaculture and architecture and everything that Grace said.
Mm. Mm. Leif, did you want to say something, or?
Yes, I'm digesting the idea of. I think most people don't realize how frequent yeast is used. It's used for brewing beer. It's used for baking. It's used for health systems, etc. So therefore.
And sorry, I just want to interject. And the great thing is it also is in combination many times with bacteria. So when you have things wild, like it doesn't have to be added, scientifically. It's more like it also occurs naturally. For instance, there's wild yeast on grapes, and that's how we start natural starters, like for bread. You just take a bunch of grapes with flour and water. So the idea is that it's also just in the air and you can grab it. A lot of beers, a lot of breweries just do wild fermentation as well. They grab it from the air. Sorry to interrupt, Leif.
Great.
And if I may add to that, was what Jack was saying is that the efficiency of copying in Singapore could be a very healthy ingredient for growing the yeast possibilities of Meraki to become not only a Meraki but a miracle.
Yes.
I think that the idea of yeast, can I?
Yeah.
Okay. The idea of yeast can be broadened to the idea of fractals. We grow everything by fractals. So yeast is one kind of fractals growth, and then everything else, fractals is repeat patterns, right? Repeat patterns that organically build itself bigger and bigger. And if we want to solve global issues, we use yeast, and then we use fractals design.
Mm.
Very good. Very, very good.
If you don't have...
Very sad that the Maggie cannot join us. We cannot hear her. It will be wonderful to listen to what she said.
It's the first discussion today, and we just lost...
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey.
Wow.
Good.
Great. So I'm a social worker, journalist, and so on. It's nice to meet you all and to hear about you and all the projects that are going on and all the ideas. I would like to start an NGO and to have some change-making process here in my country. This is Romania. I'm in Romania, in Arad. I identified many problems here. We are the opposite of the Singaporean people, because we have a lot of creative minds, but we lack execution. I mean the Romanians, because of corruption and the systems, educational, health, and so on, don't really work so well, and it's a lot of things. There are a lot of things to do. What I'm interested to make change in is education, to provide education, quality education, to children that are very poor and they don't have the possibility to learn as well as they have the brains for it. And in our schools there are a lot of teachers that they don't care about children, and so they just do their jobs like, you know, in an assembly line to get over with it and go home. And this I think this is what should be changed in the first place, because you cannot have the economical growth as in Singapore here in Romania if you don't do it from the bottom, from education. Everybody was in school, teachers were in school, um, doctors, everybody had to learn. And if we want to give a chance to poor people, we have to teach them. I mean, to provide quality education. And I think this is the 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 area in which Romania has to work very hard to accomplish it. For now, I try to think about how to start this NGO and how to make them um, to have the money to start it, because this is the problem, that I'm in the vicious circle that for having projects to you need the NGO, and so
one of the big things that we run into all the time from an observation over the last year is that, yeah, people, your story is very typical. What you and very often the way to start to get something going is with projects and entrepreneurs around the world who reach out is they want to bootstrap some ideas they have. They want to become a fellow in a program. They want to reach an accelerator or incubator. They want to make a small crowdfunding campaign. They want to be part of a European funded project or a US project or some other. And that is where I think we can play one of the crucial roles in connecting people and resources there on a weekly basis with the activities we will do. And also there is a big growing need or demand in knowing how you put up social media channels, regardless if you have a small NGO or if you're a business or whatever. It's almost a norm to have a certain number of social media channels and to build a small ecosystem of how you market yourself or your ideas or how you collaborate with new tools. So that is something we will really try to support within the coming months there, the knowledge in this field and the connections.
Great, Bert-Ola. And I would like to pick up on what Jack was mentioning, that if the government of Singapore is interested in this, perhaps we could prototype together with them and thereby getting some prototyping funding. And the new app could be called the W app or the We app.
Live, I just want to tell you that the Singapore government has zero interest in making humanitarian aid. So what they are doing is, if we want to interest them, we will have to tell them that this is actually
mapping the whole world trade system to include the 4 billion poor people as new customers. And when you present it this way, they will see the value, because it is actually a money machine, yeah, the country. They think money all the time, yeah. Not me, but my country. So the language that we use to tell them has to be business language, but they will know that we are ourselves very interested in helping poverty. But when I say to them, I'm trying to get people out of poverty, immediately they think, oh, there's no money inside, you know. Now, this is not interesting. There's no money inside. But then I have to explain to them that, no, this is the future, new customers. 4 billion. You have only 3 billion people in the world as customer today, and you already have so much business. What about you have another 4 billion new ones? And then they say, hey, that sounds very interesting. So life, we can conspire, but we have to, I will talk to you in detail how to interest them with their type of language. Yeah?
Excellent, excellent. And perhaps we could tickle them also with the wisdom.
This is
Data of wisdom. Okay.
Wisdom, yes. With or without Singapore.
Yes. Wisdom between ourselves. Yes.
Good.
This was one of the most hopeful and useful conversations that I had in very many years. Thank you very, very much, Jack. I think that I will take this advice and keep in touch with us.
So, yes. Bert-Ola, you will orchestrate us because you are our leader or coordinator.
No.
So
we are navigator and facilitators.
Yeah,
But we have there is a whole growing team. They are supporting in various ways, and that's also what I think there are a lot of people who are reaching out and want to do something, whatever it is. So we also try to find out what are the needs, what do people want to do, and how can we best amplify and support these projects. That's the whole idea with the Impact Journey, to travel around the world in a digital space and to amplify projects and great ideas. So that's that. We are in the mapping. It's a continuous mapping of the landscape.
What I realize is that individual effort alone are not sexy enough to attract big vision, and so when you are grouped together in a cohesive manner and you dream very large, people are very excited. If you dream small, people are a little bit bored, you know. So this is a very nice group. I will be in Boston later this month. So if I could meet Grace or coffee or
definitely,
something.
Jack.
At the Worcester Polytechnic, I'm giving a speech, and then after that I have nothing to do. I'm listening to other people's speeches. I can sneak out and have coffee with you. Yeah?
That sounds great.
Whoever is there. Yeah.
Okay.
And where's Leif? Where's your location?
Stockholm, Sweden.
Oh, then maybe Stockholm Water Week I will be there.
You are most welcome. So I look forward to explore these ideas with you, and also prototyping with the Meraki people.
Exactly.
I'd like to invite you over here. The scene is absolutely magnificent. I would like to lead in welcoming everybody to come in Greece, but I could also travel, or we can do it virtually. But I thank you very much for the interest that you are taking, and I think that we have done a lot of work around here, and yes, we can do more. So we are very prepared to be working very hard for solutions and prototyping. And
navigation as well. More navigation than working.
Yes, you are right. more navigation than working. Thank you. Yes, we need it.
Okay, we will, I think we are wrapping up now. We have another webinar similar tomorrow, and you can join if you want. I think it's there will be some new people because people have time at different days. But in parallel, we continue to grow these ideas, but also to invite new ideas into the arena. So these like informal webinars will continue for some weeks ahead, and then we are in the prototyping stage already now for the last years, by the way. So which you will see when we will do different events online and try to market what different people are doing.
So
Okay.
Bert-Ola, are we able to contact everybody on the Impact Navigators?
Yeah, I think the people, at least the ones I can see here, they should be in the Impact Navigator Facebook group that I set up earlier today. And that is a specific group with people who have shown interest around these issues. We have many other Facebook groups with different interests, but this group, Impact Navigator group, is specifically for people around collaboration, and it might be, for example, we have a lot of questions on how Facebook or how different collaboratives work in practice, because the innovation and the new applications are changing so fast today, so people want to find out how whatever works there. So that type of questions are perfect to share in the Impact Navigator group. It's like a common interest, I think. So just share what you have there and comment on others and connect. That's the basic. That's why we started learning by connecting. We believe in this theory that connect the people first, and then we build the tools around the dialogue. Okay, thanks from Sweden. I'm also in Sweden, on the other side, on the sunny side of Sweden.
Okay, we're good for now.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you very
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And keep in touch. Keep in touch. It is very important that we do keep in touch.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. And I mean, in the end, for that perspective, also, if any one of you have forgot to put up the email address to Bert, you can just text him or email him the email address, so we can then submit you guys all the newsletters of today's webinar.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.